Slava Ukraini! Good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for joining our candlelit vigil this evening. My name is Kastis Soltakevich, Chair of the Ukraine Crisis Committee of the Ukrainian Canadian Congress, Ottawa branch. I hope all of you stay as warm as you can tonight, and I invite all of our speakers this evening to keep their remarks short because I know it is very, very cold this evening. To open our program this evening, I invite two incredibly talented Ottawa musicians, Carissa Kolpushak, violinist with the National Arts Center Orchestra and Artistic Director of Chamberfest, Go See a Chamberfest Show, and Olenka Reshinik Bastian, the founder of Maidan Market, and of Amos the Transparent fame, to sing the Canadian and Ukrainian national anthems.
Oh, Canada, our home and native land, true patriot love in all of us command. Qu'à ton bras s'est porté l'épée, il s'est porté la croix. Ton histoire est une épopée des plus brillants exploits. God keep our land glorious and free. Oh, Canada, we stand on guard for thee. Oh, Canada, we stand on guard for thee. Ще вмерла України і слава, і воля. Ще нам, браття молоді, усміхнеться доля. Синуть наші вороженьки, як роса на сонці. Запанує він, браття, у своїй сторонці. Душу й тіло ми положим за нашу свободу і покажем, що ми браття козацького роду. Душу й тіло ми положим за нашу свободу і покажем, що ми браття козацького роду.
Thank you so much. Oh, yes. Is it still on? No. 1 second. Ah, there we go. Cables. Today, February 24th, marks the one-year anniversary of Russia's illegal and unprovoked full-scale invasion and genocidal war against Ukraine. A war that has caused mass destruction, taking thousands of lives, and displaced millions. This past year has been unconscionably difficult for Ukrainians. However, the Ukrainian spirit is unbroken. Today we mark 1 year of heroic Ukrainian resistance to Russia's genocidal war. We salute and thank the many Ukrainian men and women who have put their own lives on the line to fight for freedom, to save our beloved country from foreign occupiers. These heroes deserve the utmost respect and recognition for their bravery. In the Ukrainian national anthem we have just sung together, there is a line, Dushu и тіло ми положим за нашу свободу, meaning we will give up our soul and body for our freedom. And this is the ultimate price that tens of thousands of Ukrainian people have paid over the past 365 days, let alone the last 9 years. Let us remember these mothers, fathers, brothers, sisters, sons, daughters, grandmothers, and grandfathers who have lost their lives with a minute of silence. Thank you. I now invite To the microphone, Member of Parliament for Orleans and Parliamentary Secretary to the Minister of Immigration, Refugees and Citizenship, Marie-France Lalonde. Merci à la députée Marie-France Lalonde d'être parmi nous aujourd'hui.
Merci beaucoup. There you go. Hello, everyone. Bonsoir. Très vite. It is a privilege and an honor to join you tonight as the representative of the Government of Canada and on behalf of our National Capital Regions Caucus. I want to thank the Ukrainian Canadian Congress, Ottawa, for organizing tonight's commemoration event. My hands are frozen. I have to say, sorry about that. J'aimerais commencer par reconnaître que nous sommes situés sur le territoire non cédé de la nation algonquine Anishinaabe. We're here, all gathered in solidarity and united in front of Parliament, a Canadian symbol of democracy, to take a stand condemning Russia's war against Ukraine. Today, as we mentioned, marks 1 year since Russia began its full-scale invasion of Ukraine. As Ukrainians bravely defend their country and our shared values of peace, democracy, and human rights, Canada remains steadfast in our support. We will continue to hold Russia accountable for its brutal and unjustifiable actions. Since the launch of Russia's full-scale invasion, we remained committed to the Ukrainian plot, both abroad and at home. And we did this by being the first country to revoke Russia's and Belarus' most favored nation status as trading partners under Canadian laws. We've also imposed 1,500 sanctions. We've lodged a Canada-Ukrainian authorization for emergency travel. We're providing $150 million from Russian and Belarus tariff revenue to repair Kyiv power grid. And we're also committed over $5 billion in military aid, humanitarian aid, and developmental assistance. President Putin's wars on Ukraine is an attack on freedom, on democracy, and on the rights of Ukrainians to determine their own future. Canada calls on Russia to cease all hostilities and withdraw their military and proxy forces from Ukraine. The federal government will use all the tools at their disposal to make sure that Putin's crimes against Ukrainian people are not left unpunished. Canada's support for the people of Ukraine is clear. Canada remains unwavering in its commitment to secure those rights for all Ukrainians. In closing, I truly want to thank every Canadian from all corners of our country for everything you do and you did in so many and different ways to support displaced Ukrainians. You know, I'm proud to be Canadian, and I think as Canada we need to continue to help our Ukrainians. So I will end by saying, Slava Ukraini.
Thank you, MP Lalonde. Thank you for being here with us here this evening. Next up, I'd like to call up MP Erin O'Toole from the Conservative Party of Canada.
The red coat followed by the blue coat, ladies and gentlemen. But I'm so proud that we're here united with you here tonight. All levels of government. We have Minister Fullerton here, members of City Council, all parties united, standing in solidarity with Ukraine and with Ukrainians here in Canada. But like you, I wish we weren't here tonight. Not just because it's freezing, but because Vladimir Putin invaded the territorial sovereignty, continued his invasion of Ukraine a year ago. And we've seen horrors, atrocities since then. But we've also seen remarkable courage and resilience of the Ukrainian people. That has inspired us and continues to inspire us and warms our heart on an evening like this. Je suis ici en nom de mes collègues dans les partis conservateurs et de ma communauté Durham, Oshawa, an ancienne communauté ukrainienne. Oshawa represents one of the oldest Ukrainian Canadian communities in Canada, And the 1.5 million Ukrainians are standing here with us in solidarity tonight. To quote President Zelensky just before Christmas, to paraphrase his quote, with Ukrainian courage and Western resolve, we will guarantee the future freedom for all of us. And that is what we will commit to tonight, this spring, and as long as it takes to see a free and secure Ukraine. Slava Ukraini!
Thank you. Today we also mark 1 year of remarkable Ukrainian resilience in the face of genocide, unspeakable crimes, and evil perpetrated by Russia against Ukraine. The inhuman atrocities committed against innocent Ukrainian citizens, many of them children, mark a very sad and despicable page in history. However, this is not the first time that Ukraine has faced such adversity from its eastern neighbor. They were unable to destroy the Ukrainian people before, and so too will they fail to do so again. Next, I would like to invite the ambassador of the bravest country in the world of Ukraine to Canada, Her Excellency Yuliya Kovaliv, to the microphone.
Slava Ukraini! 1 year of full-scale Russian invasion, 365 days of Ukraine resilience and the world's unity. The largest conventional war in Europe since the Second World War. And 1 day of war, even 1 day of war, it's a lot. It costs lives of people that we can't return back. And we remember everyone. Today we mark not just a year of war, but a year of resilience, a year of humanity and compassion. A year of united Ukraine that is changing the world. A year of those who made faith and hope reality. For a year now, Ukraine has been defending itself and entire democratic world from Russian imperialism. We are paying the highest price for freedom, for democracy, and for rule of law. And Kyiv stands, Ukraine stands, and the world stands with Ukraine. And Canada, our closest partner, our ally, our friend, strongly stands with us. Thank you for being with us with such an important moment in our modern history. This year was a long year, and the year full of pain, full of grief, full of human tragedies. Destroyed Bucha, Irpin, Izum, Mariupol, they all will be rebuilt. But lost lives will never be forgotten. And never we forget all the generous support of governments, all the military support, financial support, humanitarian support. Every family who opens their doors for Ukrainian mothers with children fleeing the war. Every volunteer who is helping to provide support. Every one of you who is standing today with us. Thank you. Russia has already strategically lost in Ukraine. They thought that they will... They thought that they could take over Kyiv and Ukraine over hours and over a few days. Instead, each and every Ukrainian stood strong, protecting our homeland. They thought that the West will be divided, but instead, we see the unprecedented support and unprecedented efforts to protect democracy and rule-based order. Ukraine is fighting, and we will keep on fighting till we liberate all our sovereign territories. Until we will raise our blue and yellow Ukrainian flag in Donetsk, in Luhansk, in Mariupol, and in Crimea. victory will not only be the victory of Ukraine over aggressor. It will be the victory of democracy. It will be the victory of freedom and the victory of light over darkness. And that will be our joint victory that will define the future of the world, free, secure, and prosperous. For this to happen soon, we need your voice, your support, your help. Each tank, each fighter jet, each artillery, each box of food for Ukrainian family, each package of sanctions that the governments are imposing on Russian regime, each dollar donated to humanitarian appeal, each rally, each Ukrainian flag over your home, each voice in support of Ukraine speed up our victory. So please, keep going on. And with unwavering faith, with bowling gratitude, with lifelong memory, let's go to our victory. Glory to Ukraine and glory to Canada.
Thank you, Ambassador. I also wanted to congratulate the Ambassador for hosting an incredible event this past Monday with Governor General Mary Simon, alongside dozens of ambassadors of international partners, which just shows you how united the free democratic world is. Congratulations, Ambassador, to you and your embassy team. Thanks to the support of these international partners, Ukraine's defensive efforts have been significantly bolstered. Canada has strongly supported Ukraine and the Ukrainian people's right to live free on their own land. We are grateful to everyone in Canada who continues to stand with and support Ukraine. However, the job is still far from being finished. To end the genocide that Russia is committing against Ukraine, Russia must be defeated. We're thankful to all levels of government for their support, and provincially for all those Ukrainians who are making Ontario their home right now, either temporarily or for a longer period of time. I would like to now invite the Honourable Merrilee Fullerton, MPP for Kanata, Carleton, and Minister of Children, Community and Social Services.
Thank you. Thank you to Her Excellency for the Ukraine, and thank you to all of you for coming out tonight, braving the cold, and the brave people fighting for their homeland and democracy in Ukraine. Brave, brave people, and we are so grateful for that outpouring of strength and resiliency. The government of Ontario is proud to support the Ukraine people in this very, very important struggle, and it will define what happens to our world. And you are all here to support that very, very important effort. Thousands of people, thousands of Ukrainians have died fighting for their country. Millions have had to flee to other countries, to Ontario, Canada. And Ontario has welcomed them with open arms, providing jobs and training, childcare, emergency income support, education. And we will continue to support them until Ukraine sees peace and this struggle is over. My heart goes out to Ukraine and the people there, and thank you all for being here so much. Thank you. Slava Ukraini. Thank you.
As a global community that values peace and security and stands against tyranny, we must continue to do everything in our power to continue to help Ukraine in its struggle. We must ensure that this year's anniversary, the first anniversaries of Russia's full-scale war, is the only anniversary of this war. Currently, Russia is losing this war, and it is our job, all of ours, to ensure that this trend continues. Through combined efforts and support, we can make sure that in 2023, this year, a new anniversary will arise, Ukraine's Victory Day. Ukraine has many partners, And one of those strong partners are the three Baltic states of Estonia, Latvia, Lithuania. And we are honored to have His Excellency Darius Skusevicius, Ambassador of Lithuania to Canada, here to speak today. The Ambassador constantly supports and attends our events, both with his drones and just with himself, and we are so grateful to have him for being here with us today.
Good evening, everyone. This will be the first time I'm reading, and not because I forgot my speech, but I will try to give some phrases in Ukrainian, and it would be difficult without reading. So, dear Ukrainians, dear friends, 1 year ago, you came under a violent attack. 1 year ago, your journey on the path to victory started. 1 year ago, the world has changed forever. You showed the whole world the true meaning of fight for freedom. 1 year later, Ukraine continues its heroic fight. Сьогодні і ми, литовці, і весь демократичний західний світ підтримуємо Україну і її боротьби, а це означає і у нашій боротьбі проти російського агресора. Україна є нашим найближчим і наймилішим другом. Дорогі сестри і браті українці, Литва була, є і завжди буде разом з вами. Повірте, в Литві це розуміють і підтримують усі. І політики нашої держави, і звичайні литовці. And these are not just words. Last July, Lithuanian people raised money for Bayraktar drones. Then we were the first to raise money for naval drones. Then 3 kamikaze drones with very symbolic names, starting with peace and ending with Da, Dets, and Duk. Just an hour ago, Lithuanians finished another historical fundraising marathon. This time, we all were donating money to buy radars for Ukraine. 1 million euros means 1 radar. In less than a month, 14 million euros were raised, and this means 14 radars will help Ukraine to protect its sky. Because fight for freedom is an indispensable part of our DNA, and because it's the least we can do. Dear friends, today we gathered to pay our tribute to all fallen Ukrainian heroes, to show our solidarity and clearly say we stand with Ukraine. Let me finish with remarks from Let me finish my remarks with the words of Ukrainian song. Хай буде весна, там, де ми стоїмо до кінця. І нас не зламає війна. Наша віра єднає серця. Україна навіки жива. Україна єднає серця. Дорогі друзі, ми залишаємося з вами разом до кінця, до вашої перемоги. Слава Україні!
Thank you, Ambassador. I also wanted to thank the Lithuanian Prime Minister today for saying that we should give Ukraine everything we can. After all it's costing us is money. We would also like to acknowledge other members of the diplomatic community and other political and community leaders here with us today. And if I miss you, please come to me to the side of the stage. I do want to acknowledge you. If you're here and I have missed you, please come to me. We still have a little bit more in the program, but I would like to acknowledge your presence here today. First, His Excellency, Mr. Michel Mirayet, Ambassador of France to Canada. His Excellency, Borzek Lisets, Ambassador of the Czech Republic to Canada, Bogdan Manoiu, Ambassador of Romania to Canada, Deputy Head of Mission Miskaya Laconiata from the Embassy of Italy. I know we have Sean Devine, City Councillor as well, the High Commissioner from England, the Spanish Ambassador, and the Slovakian Ambassadors, as well as His Excellency Kanji Yamanouchi, Ambassador of Japan to Canada, all incredible partners of Ukraine during this war. Please give them a round of applause and thank them for their support for being here today. And while you're applauding, we want to thank all of the countries that are supporting Ukraine in various ways. Poland, 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 Poland. Latvia, Lithuania, Estonia, Romania, Germany, Slovakia, Czechia, Moldova, Ireland, Finland, Sweden, Denmark, Norway, United Kingdom, France, Belgium, Netherlands, Italy, Spain, Portugal, Australia, Greece, Belgium, Bulgaria, Japan, Taiwan, Morocco, Croatia, Luxembourg, Montenegro, New Zealand, North Macedonia, Slovenia, Turkey, United States, and of course, Canada. Thank you to all of these partners. Ukraine is truly supported by many friends and allies. And as we just heard, a huge, huge supporter of Ukraine, the first country to open its doors, the first country to go, we're bringing in as many Ukrainians as we can and giving them a safe place to stay, Poland. We are in incredible gratitude and so grateful to Poland. And I would like to next invite up the ambassador of Poland, Witold Dzielski, to the microphone.
Thank you, dear friends. I'll be very short, because I echo everything that was said here before. I'll just give you one story, and it's a true story. On February 23, so one day before the atrocities began, or continued, I would say, the Polish president, Andrzej Duda, together with his Lithuanian friend, Gitanas Nausėda, were in Kyiv. And they had conversations. They already knew what is happening and what is going to happen. And my president was saying goodbye to President Zelensky. They hugged, and President Zelensky told to my president, Andrzej, this is probably the last time we see each other. And my president said, listen, Volodymyr, this is not true. I'll do everything that is in my power to provide support to you. And I remember speaking to my president, because I worked for him when he returned to Warsaw. He told us about that conversation, and he had tears in his eyes. So and everything else followed. You know the story. I will not, say anything else. But glory to the heroes. Slava Ukraini.
I would be remiss. Yes, Poland, absolutely. I also want to thank two other ambassadors who are here with us, and I also forgot to mention, no, I didn't forget to mention actually though, but the two ambassadors who are here, the ambassador from the European Union, thank you to the EU and Denmark as well. Thank you so much for being here with us tonight and for all your support for the people of Ukraine. There's a great Wikipedia page that lists all of the countries that have helped Ukraine. And when you go on Expedia and you go look at where I want to travel for 1 week in the next 6 months, start by going to that Wikipedia page and going to one of those countries, and every person you meet, thank them for supporting the people of Ukraine. Today, the Ukrainian Canadian community continues to strongly urge the Canadian government and its allies to provide Ukraine with the necessary air defense capabilities, missile defense systems, so that Ukraine can protect civilians from Russia's barbaric attacks. We also ask that our government provide Ukraine with any weapons that Ukraine requests, including long-range artillery, additional tanks, advanced rocket systems, and air and naval weapons. We know that we have freed 4 Leopards and today freed 4 more, but we know that there are more Leopards that can be released. We also call on the government of Canada to designate Russia a state supporter of terrorism, to expel all Russian diplomats and implement a full trade embargo on Russia. Only through strong measures such as these will we make an impact in stopping Russia in this heinous operation. This past Wednesday, our next speaker introduced a motion in City Hall condemning the illegal Russian invasion of Ukraine and had unanimous support with Council. I invite this Councillor, Stephanie Plante, to bring remarks on behalf of the City of Ottawa, our beautiful city that's been proudly flying the Ukrainian flag in front of City Hall every day over the past year. Councillor.
Oh my, it's tall. Dobry večer. Good evening, everyone. Bonsoir tout le monde. As a city councillor for Rideau-Vanier, which is the ward right next door, it is an honor to be here on behalf of Ottawa Mayor Mark Sutcliffe. I wish to recognize government representatives, diplomats, displaced Ukrainians living in Ottawa, and I especially want to give a shout out to Councillor Sean Devine and Councillor David Hill, who are here tonight with us. Thank you for being here on this solemn day. Today marks the one-year anniversary of the invasion of Ukraine, a dark moment in history, and Ukrainians continue to endure unimaginable terrors and suffering in their home country. C'est un moment sombre de leur histoire qui traverse les Ukrainiens qui continuent de subir les horreurs et les souffrances de leur pays, inconcevables dans leur pays. We keep the people of Ukraine in our minds and in our hearts as we reflect on the victims of this brutal and senseless war. As some of you know, my husband is Ukrainian Canadian, and over the last year, yes! This has impacted us personally, and we want this war to end. But the benefits of being married to someone of Ukrainian heritage means that Ukrainian resilience has rubbed off on me as I pursue my career as a councillor. I am in awe of the fighting spirit of the people of Ukraine who stand up against autocracy, and we support you, not just because this war is unjust, but because this war is between democracy and dictatorship, between freedom and between occupation. The people of Ottawa stand with Ukraine and support the Ukrainian people in their fight to independence, freedom, and self-determination. The City of Ottawa and City Council condemns the crimes against humanity and the acts of genocide committed by Russia. Il faut finir avec cette guerre. Nous voulons la paix et sécurité qui règne en Ukraine. Je souhaite une bonne soirée, dobry večer et slava Ukraini.
Thank you, Councillor. And also thank you for fielding all of the calls. Because the Russian embassy is in your ward, we know that there's a lot of people who are bothered by the honking, but we also know there's a lot of people who are very proud of all the honking in front of the Russian embassy as well. We are extremely grateful for all the assistance the Canadian government has already provided, though, to Ukraine. Recently, on February 15th, assistance was provided by Canada for the demining process, an important step in making areas safe again, and there is so much land that must be demined. On January 26th, Canada provided Ukraine with Leopard tanks, and again today, a useful addition to Ukraine's arsenal. And on January 18th, 200 APCs, which will improve the mobility of Ukraine's forces, were gifted to the Ukrainian Armed Forces. And on January 10th, NASAM systems were purchased for Ukraine, which will be vital in assisting Ukraine protect its skies. Next up to the microphone, I'd like to invite Ms. Anne McGrath, National Director of the NDP, to speak.
Bonsoir tout le monde et merci beaucoup pour l'invitation d'être ici avec vous. C'est vraiment un honneur. So today we are marking the one-year anniversary of the brutal invasion of Ukraine by Vladimir Putin. How did everybody else do that? Oh, there we go. In the last year, the whole world has watched the invasion of Ukraine by Putin in horror. Today and tonight, we reflect on the thousands of lives lost, families displaced and separated, and the long-lasting damage done to Ukraine and its people. New Democrats condemn the genocidal war crimes committed against the Ukrainian people. In the last year, we have also witnessed unwavering support in the Canadian Parliament for Ukraine. In April 2022, a motion by our NDP critic for Foreign Affairs, Heather McPherson, was passed unanimously, which recognized Russia is carrying out a genocide against the Ukrainian people. New Democrats continue to call the Canadian government to do more humanitarian aid for those who have fled Putin's aggressions, more funds for demining efforts, better, more transparent sanctions regimes. So much has been done, and so much more needs to be done to support Ukraine and the Ukrainian people now as well as in the future. Through it all, Ukrainians have defended themselves and their country with bravery, courage, and love. Their spirit and resilience shines bright. New Democrats stand in solidarity with the people of Ukraine today, tomorrow, and always. Slava Ukraini.
Thank you so much. Rickety stairs. As we know, the Russian invasion of Ukraine threatens not only the territory of Ukraine, but also Europe and indeed the whole world. Russia can and must be defeated. The unity, courage, and bravery of the Ukrainian armed forces and the Ukrainian people, together with weapons, economic aid, and sanctions on Russia from Canada and its allies, will defeat Russia and restore peace in Europe and around the world. Recently, Russia significantly intensified the terror bombing of Ukrainian cities and towns. Unable to defeat Ukraine on the battlefield, Russia has turned to missile strikes on energy and power infrastructure, seeking to turn dark and cold into weapons against Ukraine and its people. Purposefully targeting civilian infrastructure is prohibited as a war crime and a crime against humanity, and this malicious act just shows the evil depths that the tyrannical Putin regime is willing to go to achieve its goal. Canadians have stepped up in incredible ways to support the people of Ukraine, and next I am truly, truly honored to invite to the stage Walter Wood. Walter is a 36-year veteran of the Canadian Armed Forces and a former soldier of the International Legion of the Territorial Defense Forces of Ukraine, serving from March to June of 2022. After returning home, he, with a few ex-legionnaires, started the Veterans Fighting for Ukraine, veteransfightingforukraine.org, a U.S.-based charitable organization that is providing much-needed support to the foreign volunteers of the International Legion. They remain steadfastly committed to help Ukraine restore its sovereignty and defend its freedom. Walter, thank you for your service in Canada and in Ukraine. We are honored to have you here today.
I'm almost ashamed to say that I haven't been this cold since sleeping in a ditch for the first few days of my service in Ukraine last March. But thank you all for coming out and showing your support for Ukraine. This is very important. It's important to me personally, for the friends that I've lost in the front lines fighting against the atrocious Putin regime and its atrocities that they're committing in Ukraine every day that I've seen. I can tell you of the damage and the destruction, of the lives wasted and lost, of mothers and fathers and children who are suffering right now in Ukraine every day because of what the Russian regime is doing there. Sacrifices are being made by everyone, including the foreign volunteers who've come from all over the world. Over 50 nations that when I left Ukraine were represented in the Foreign Legion fighting against the Russians. In fact, even this week, I'm sad to say that 2 of my former Legion brothers lost their lives fighting for this just and noble cause to defend freedom and democracy and the sovereignty of Ukraine. Much can be done. You're here personally sacrificing to be here tonight to show your support. We can do more. Canada can do more. The international community can do more. We need to put an end to this war and the suffering that it's causing for the people of Ukraine. Slava Ukraini!
Thank you. Thank you for those words, and thank you for your service. I also wanted to mention and thank MP Anita Vanderbilt for also being here with us tonight. I know you had a prior commitment, but I do appreciate you coming this evening as well. And again, if you are here this evening and I have not mentioned you, please do come up to me. I do want to thank you. Thank any other ambassadors who are here with us today. I know it's so important. Over the past year, since invading Ukraine, Russia has fired over 4,700 missiles at Ukraine, and 97% of Russian attacks are on civilian targets. Russia will not stop with these attacks until they are defeated. And as a reminder, again, Canada and its allies need to increase delivery of air defenses to help Ukraine protect its skies and its civilian infrastructure. The reprehensible atrocities and crimes against humanity Russia is committing daily require a much stronger response from Ukraine's allies, and we need to help Ukraine designate Russia a state supporter of terrorism immediately. Next, I invite Yuliya Mikhailonok up to the stage. Irina is a Ukrainian teacher, editor, and poet, and she arrived to Canada in May of last year, and now she teaches foreigners Ukrainian language and culture. She paid a high price for the freedom of Ukraine, with her husband giving her life for independence, and Irina now helps the military unit of her father, who was wounded in the war. Irina.
Слава Україні! Дякую за запрошення. І я хотіла би подякувати Канаді за прихисток жінок і дітей в першу чергу. І поділитися з вами твором, який був написаний в Канаді зовсім нещодавно. Я пахну тобою, Україно, я вітер, де твоя печаль. Я море синя в небі виднокрила, я очі тих, хто шепотів прощай. Не скрити душу мою, не сісти в полі край вікна, не осягнути волю долі, усе знесла війна. Наперекір усьому вою, іду вперед, крізь смуту і печаль, боронить край, відважний воїн, ім'я йому звичай. Відважність креслена віками, дитячим сміхом і плачем, твоїми бранцями звитяго, ми вистоїм своїм плечем. І ще один твір я би хотіла прочитати Лесі Українки «Конрад Спамсперо». Перепрошую, замерзла, і мене зовсім важко говорити. Завтра річниця, і я вважаю, що цей вірш дуже гарно відбиває настрій українців, який закінчиться врешті перемогою. Гетьте думи, ви хмари осінні, тож тепера весна золота. Чи то так у жалю в голосінні проминуть молодії літа? Ні, ні, я хочу крізь сльози сміятись, серед лиха співати пісні, без надії таки сподіватись, жити хочу, геть думи сумні. Я на вбогім сумнім перелозі буду сіять барвисті квітки, буду сіять квітки на морозі, буду лить на них сльози, гіркі. І від тих сліз, від гарячих розтане та кора лядовая, міцна. Може, квіти зійдуть? І настане ще для мене весела весна. Я на гору круту крем'яную буду камінь важкий підіймать, і на сучу вагу ту страшную буду пісню весело співать. В довгу темну нічку не видно, не столю ні на хвильку очей. Все шукатиму зірку провідну, ясну владарку темних ночей. Так я буду крізь сльози сміятись, серед лиха співати пісні, без надії таки сподіватись, жити буду, геть думи сумні. Слава Україні!
Героям слава!
Дякую.
Дякую. Next, I would like to invite Boris Gengelo, President of the Ukrainian Canadian Congress, Ottawa branch, to say a few words.
Ану, всі разом. Той, що не скаче, то москаль. Jump! All right, keep jumping. You'll stay warm. The more you jump, the faster I speak. A year and a day ago, 23rd of February, we all gathered in support of Ukraine in front of the Ukrainian embassy. At the end of the rally, on a bitterly cold day like this, we all went either home or some of us to pubs to warm up. And as we sat there, we heard on the news Russian helicopters being shot down over Hostomel Airport north of Kyiv. The beginning of the war. But that wasn't the beginning of the war. Nor was 2014 the beginning of the war. Ukraine is involved in an existential struggle that's been going on for centuries. Just think back quickly. 1860s and 70s, the ukases of Valuyev and Ems forbidding the use of the Ukrainian language within the Russian Empire. You couldn't print in it, you couldn't read it, you couldn't perform in it, you couldn't speak it publicly. It was illegal to speak the Ukrainian language. 1885, Tsar Alexei's ukaz. Children could not be baptized with Ukrainian names. Sound a bit familiar? Residential schools? The same thing was happening in Ukraine, and it didn't stop in the Soviet period. We have collectivization in the late 1920s. Over 1 million Ukrainians deported during the collectivization. to Siberia, to special settlements, over half of whom died along the way. And then we have the greatest tragedy in our history, the Holodomor in 32 and 33. Millions of Ukrainians artificially starved to death for simply being Ukrainian. And the Russian state and the Soviet state did not stop there. It went on to try and decapitate the Ukrainian society. The so-called executed Renaissance, over 150,000 Ukrainian intellectuals, professors, doctors, lawyers, teachers, all disappeared into the Gulag in an attempt to wipe out the existence of Ukrainian culture and society. This carried on throughout the Soviet period. The last Ukrainian dissident to die in a Soviet concentration camp was Vasil Stus in 1986, the first year of Gorbachev in power. And now it continues. Theater in Mariupol, with hundreds of women and children in it, bombed, people killed. Over 400 hospitals and medical facilities destroyed by artillery, by missiles, by aircraft fire. All Ukrainian politicians who were captured by the Russians disappear into filtration camps. Some, like the mayor of Bucha and her husband and her son, are shot in the back of the head and dropped into a ditch in front of a church. We have seen people disappearing from the streets, Ukrainian schools being shut down, searches for Ukrainian parents who don't send their children to Russian schools in the occupied territories. Ukrainians being forcibly relocated to Russia, stripped of their documentation, making it impossible for them to work or to move around. And we have the kidnapping of Ukrainian children. The Yale study says over 6,000 of them, at least, and probably a lot more, have literally been kidnapped and sent to Russian for adoption by Russian families. The Russian Commissioner for Children's Rights, Lyubova, has herself adopted one of these children and boasts about the fact that she's going to turn him into a really good Russian. And if some of those children resist, she in a report to Putin said they're being sent to Chechnya, to Kadyrov, who'll straighten them out. And we know how he'll do that. Ukraine is fighting an existential war. Antony Blinken, the American Secretary of State, has recognized this. Just today, he said at the United Nations, if Russia stops fighting, the war finishes. If Ukrainians stop fighting, Ukraine finishes. We have to keep up our support. And I thank the diplomats, the Canadian government, all of you for your strong support of Ukraine. If it weren't for this support, if we can't keep this support going, if we can't silence the voices that keep telling Ukraine, make peace, do something with Putin, we will see Ukraine destroyed. Thank you for all your support, and all together, Slava Ukraini! Heroям Slava!
Thank you, Borysa. Subtelny in 3 minutes or less, and I really appreciate it, Borysa. Now I would like to invite Father Taras Kinash of the Assumption of the Blessed Virgin Ukrainian Orthodox Cathedral for a closing prayer, because I know all of us are cold, but we're all still standing, and so is Ukraine. Father Taras.
Слава Україні! Зараз ми стоїмо і думаємо, як нам холодно. Ми зараз підемо, хтось піде в кафе, хтось в теплу машину, хтось в свій теплий будинок, загріється теплим одіялом, чашкою какао. А чи мають можливість наші воїни, наші захисники погрітися, так як ми можемо зробити це? Страшний холод на фронті, коли солдат йде на своє чергування і повертається в холодний своє окоп, де він має тільки одну якусь окопну свічку, від якої може погрітися. А мороз так само тисне, так само і тут. Тому сьогодні ми повинні молитися за наших захисників, молитися до Господа Бога. І в сьогоднішній день я пригадав про молитву, яка була написана майже 100 років тому тут, у Канаді, великим українцем, митрополитом Іларіоном Огієнком. І я хочу звернутися до всіх і кожного, до всього світу, а перш за все до Господа Бога, щоб Господь подав нам велику перемогу нашої рідної неньки України. Тому що мир нам можливий тільки через перемогу. В ім'я Отця і Сина і Святого Духа. Амінь. Боже великий, Боже всесильний, ми грішні діти Твої, покори сердець наших, схиляємо голови до Тебе. Отче, прости нам провини наші, провини батьків і прадідів наших. Благослови нашу батьківщину Україну, щастя їй дай, бо Ти святий єси завжди нині, повсякчас і на віки віків. Амінь. Слава Ісусу Христу! Слава Україні! Україна переможе!
Thank you, Father Tanasi. 5 million civilians have already been forced to leave Ukraine, and another 8 million are internally displaced. And we know we must help these people and ensure that they are safe, and in time can return to their homes to live freely and peacefully. For Canadians who want to help, we ask you to consider donating to the Ukrainian Humanitarian Appeal Fund established by the UCC and the Canada-Ukraine Foundation, and you can find more at the Canada-Ukraine Foundation website. You can also support Ukraine in many other ways as well. Buy from Ukrainian makers on Etsy. There's so many of them, and I swear it's very, very difficult to not spend all of my money buying from Ukrainian makers on Etsy. Another place that does an incredible job is St. Javelin. Please buy products from St. Javelin who do incredible work. Donate to President Zelensky's United 24 campaign. That money goes directly to the most urgent needs of the government of Ukraine. You can also shop for products directly from Ukraine at brave.ua, also incredible makers as well. Together we can and will stop Russia's genocidal war against the Ukrainian people. You can also donate to support locally for those Ukrainians who have arrived in Ottawa by picking up a card from one of our volunteers wearing a blue and yellow glowing necklace. A particularly thank you to Parliamentary Security for their work today. We are so thankful and blessed to live in a democratic country where we can hold events such as this one. A reminder to please pick up any pieces of paper you might see, any signs, any trash or anything like that, and let's make sure to leave Parliament Hill cleaner than when we started. On behalf of the Ukrainian community, we want to thank all people who supported Ukraine in rallies, making donations, supporting newcomers, every volunteer in Ottawa who's done any sort of thing, every ethno-cultural group who supported, businesses, and every single Canadian across our country who has contributed to this cause. Tonight, we here are part of more than 50 communities participating in the call to action to support the people of Ukraine and come out. We have events taking place across Canada, from Comox to Charlottetown, from Whitehorse to St. John's, from Quebec City to Prince Rupert. And we are here on the first anniversary of this genocidal war, and let us do everything we can to ensure we are not here again next year and help Ukraine defeat this tyrannical regime once and for all. Now, both of our singers have had to leave for other events, other musical events, but I ask everyone now to turn on their flashlights, lights, or turn on their candles, or turn on the flashlights on your phones and lift them into the air as we close tonight's cold, cold evening by singing the national anthem of our beloved Ukraine. Ще не вмерла Україна, ні слава, ні воля. Ще нам, браття українці, усміхнеться доля. Згинуть наші вороженьки, як роса Слава Україні!